Hello. This is a really important video and I'm making this video because I made this very mistake and I've seen so many people make the same mistake. A lot of my clients make the same mistake and it halts your progress. So, you know, if you're a truth seeker or you've chosen to go on a spiritual journey, you're in a state of inquiry, you want to know, you believe there's more to life and you want to know what that is. And you start down the path of trying to understand a bit more. You might be watching YouTubes like this one, you might be reading books, whether they're about manifestation or meditation or basically anything to do with metaphysics. You know, it doesn't really matter which route you have taken to arrive at this point. You need to understand one thing. If you continue to just gather information and not implement what you're learning, you're just going to be stuck in Data City. You're going to be stuck in Data City and you could be stuck there for years. And yes, although it can be really enjoyable, you know, you're learning something new every day. You're learning so much stuff. But what you're not doing is getting what you want from it. You're just learning. Knowledge on its own is just knowledge. It's just information. It isn't anything else. So you've really got to be moving. You like learn something, embody it, practice it, learn the next thing, embody it, practice it, learn the next thing, embody it, practice it. Then you become a person who's fully connected, in flow. That's when your life starts changing. That's when you start to manifest what you want. That's when you meet the perfect partner. That is when you get the perfect job. That is when you find your purpose, and you know, that is when it happens. It doesn't happen at the information stage. Nothing happens at the information stage. It's interesting and it's exciting and you're learning new things and everything's fascinating. And of course, we should all do that. You should never stop learning. But so many people just get stuck here. And the reason they get stuck here, they come into this field because they want to understand or they're looking to do something, change their life in some significant way. They're looking to change their life in a significant way. Not just, you know, I want, I don't know, £5 more a month. They want to change their life in a significant way. And they come into this arena because of that. Because you realise that we just work like Trojans and, you know, nothing is pro-human. And you start to see it. Like the longer you're in the workplace, the more you start to see that. It's kind of impossible to, like even if you earn millions, it's still impossible to get to where you want to be. Mind, body and soul. You know, it's not easy. So I think it's really important that you understand the journey that you need to go on and to remember that although you get off at a particular stop, you need to remember to get back on the train until you reach your final destination. So let's talk about that journey. The first part of the journey is you're curious. You've become curious, whether someone has inspired you, you've seen something, heard something, you've been inspired, or you've hit a crisis point in your life. Trauma, crisis, they're big points in your own life. And you realise that you have to find a different way, because if you don't find a different way, you're going to crack up. So you've hit a crisis point, you've lost your job. It can be anything, honestly. Loss often triggers this as well. It can honestly be anything. So you could be someone who's just mildly curious because you've seen a film or a video, or you've spoken to somebody and they've grabbed your attention. So there's a curiosity. The whole journey starts with a curiosity. You're curious about the fact that there probably is more to you and life and this universe than you realise. There's more than what we're just seeing here. So that's the first thing. So you jump on the train because you're curious. It's curiosity that got you on the train. It gets you onto the spiritual train. So you hop on board. That's your first stop, curiosity. You hop on board and the train leaves the station and then you're moving into Data City and Infolandia. You arrive at the second stop and it's in a country called Infolandia. And Infolandia looks amazing. It's just really pretty. It's so pretty. It's inviting, really inviting. It's very scenic. You definitely want to get off the train here because you want to see what this place has got to offer. So you get off at Infolandia and you start exploring this country a little bit, and it takes you to the city. It's a tiny country, and the city, the capital city of this country, is called Data City. You've got to visit Data City because it's all happening in Data City. So you arrive at Data City, and at Data City there's a massive, massive library. It's super impressive. It's been there for thousands of years. It's just gorgeous. It smells gorgeous, like everything about it is absolutely gorgeous. And next door to the library there's a coffee shop, and on the other side of the library there's a restaurant, and opposite the library there's a hotel. And when you first get there you think, oh my god, I absolutely love this place. I love this place. And you visit the library and you know, consume all of the data and information that's in the books, and it's absolutely fantastic. And then you get addicted, even though you realise that in this city there's nothing else but a coffee shop, a restaurant, a hotel and a library. There's nothing else for you to do. It doesn't offer anything else. It only offers information. It only offers data. That's all it offers. Yet, I don't know, you're kind of tempted to stay. And what makes you want to stay is that the library is so beautiful and so interesting and full of promise. Everything you read is full of promise. Oh my God, I get it. You get light bulb moments every single day. You start to think, oh, I can do it. Like, I know what I'm doing. I know this now. I'm done. Like, I know this stuff. And then you stay there. Like, it kind of captures you. It captures your imagination. It captures your curiosity. It captures everything. It kind of captures you, and it draws you in. And Data City is great, but it's kind of boring and non-progressive. So although you're learning lots of stuff and taking in lots of information, and there's lots of data, nothing's really changing in your life. You're not changing. You just know more. But you're not changing, and your life's not changing. And actually, you realise by now that you've been here at least a year in Data City, and nothing has changed. All that excitement that you had early on because you were learning stuff, and that was full of promise, and you know it works, and you get it, you understand it. You understand the metaphysics, even though you're not a physicist. You get it all, you understand how it all works and how it all fits together, and it's really exciting. And you know that everything you want can be yours, absolutely, and it can, but not if you stay in Data City. So you have to move on from Data City, but you think, I won't move on just yet because there's that book and that book and that book and that book. And then there's that podcast over there, that whole podcast series that I could listen to. So I don't want to leave here. I don't want to leave. I'm not ready to start implementing this and embodying this because I don't know enough yet. I need to know all of this other stuff before I leave here. That's false. That's the false sense of security that all of us, that's the trap that we all fall into. We want to stay in Data City, in this country called Infolandia that offers nothing but information, no practical help, nothing, just information. Just information. And you think, oh, but I've read this book and this book that tells me what I need to do. Yeah, but are you doing it? Probably not. And the reason you're not doing it is because you think, well, I just need to learn that bit. And I just need to know that bit. And the doing it's quite hard, but the finding out about how to do it is quite interesting. So I'm just going to keep finding out. I'm just going to be the finder-outer for as long as I can. And that's great, but then at the same time, you're also disappointed and complaining that you haven't got the changes that you were looking for. Nothing seems to be changing for you. Your life still seems to be in the same place. You're not moving forward. So it's exciting, but it's not. It's kind of making you feel more impatient in lots of ways, but it's still really exciting because you're learning new things. But you're now starting to think, oh, I don't know. I'm not sure about this stuff. Like, I believe it, but does it work? You're starting to think that. And the reason you're starting to think that is because you're spending too much time in the same place. Like, you need to get back on the train. Get back on the train. So you think, okay, I'm going to get back on the train. I'm going to get back on the train because I know quite a lot now. I know a lot. So I really need to get back on the train. And I need to move to the third stop, because the third stop is Method Plaza. And in Method Plaza, there are so many practical applications for me. So you get back on the train. You reluctantly get back on the train because you love Data City and the massive library. You love it. Even though the country has nothing else to offer at all, you still love it. You still love it. But you think it's okay because I can always come back. And it's true, you can. You can pass by that station whenever you want. You know, it's such a short journey. Actually, you could visit Data City whenever you want. You could go there for a day and then come back. So you're okay with leaving Data City now, and you're kind of excited about Method Plaza because you've heard that in Method Plaza there are all kinds of places that you can stay and visit. So in Method Plaza there are themed hotels now. So there are the webinar hotels where you get to attend a webinar on how you can change a specific area of your life. It's much more honed in. Method Plaza is much more honed in. The different types of things that you could start applying now. So, you know, there's meditation hotel, there's the webinar station where they teach you all different kinds of methods that you can now implement to change specific areas of your life, like how to attract the right partner, how to make more money, how to get rich quick, how to be a millionaire by the end of the year, how to blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, there's all sorts of stuff going on there. All the courses are there. And if you're one of these people that think, oh, everybody's just trying to sell me a course. Yeah, and the reason people develop courses is because nobody knows how to implement what they've learned. They get stuck in Data City. That's why people develop courses. So if you're someone who can take in data, structure away a methodology to make that data work for you, and then practice that, you don't need a course. But if you're not that person, you need the course. That's why people develop courses. That's why you've decided to move on to Method Plaza, because you need to learn the method. You need to understand what you need to do to make this, all this stuff that you've learned, how to make it work for you. How do you make it work for you? And then you start attending the seminars, the training days, the yoga retreats, the meditation retreats, all of that comes into play. And that's what happens at Method Plaza. All of those retreats and education establishment, and I mean spiritual education, not traditional education, all of those establishments are there for you. You can attend a meditation class today. You can understand how to use your breath to calm your nervous system. And then you can move on from that to visualizations, wide awake meditations, walking meditations, which are really effective in manifestation. And then you can move on to that to deeper meditations, connecting with other beings, and even deeper, accessing the Akashic field, taking yourself out of your body and just existing where you really are and connecting to that. All of that happens in Method Plaza. So if you get stuck in Data City, you never arrive at Method Plaza. You know so much, but you can't do any of it. You're not able to implement any of it. And because you don't know how to do any of it, nothing is changing for you, except that you know so much. So, you know, you'll become more interesting at a party, maybe. A lot of people don't like talking about it, but you might become more interesting at a party. You could become more compassionate. You start to understand people a little bit more, tune into people a little bit better. But you still don't really know how to change. You don't really know how to practice what you've learned. You start talking about it because you're really excited. You want everybody to know what you know. But why? When you're not doing it. Like, you're not making it work for you. So what's the point in telling everybody about it? Because they're going to see that nothing's really changed for you. So you can spend time at Method Plaza. You can understand what you need to do. Method Plaza is good. Like, it gives you lots of different tools and techniques. You can learn them all. And all of those tools and techniques are really interesting. You'll see which ones you are drawn to, which ones you're not drawn to, which ones you think are going to work best for you, which areas of your life you want to work on first. So employ that methodology first. And you can understand all of that. But once you've understood it, you then need to get back on the train. Back on the train to the 4th stop, because the 4th stop is Practice Mountain. When you arrive in Practice Mountain, here is where you've put that data that you've learned in 2 stops ago and the methodology, and you bring those together and you actually start implementing them. You actually start working, practicing what you've learned using the methods that you've learned. So you learned the information in Data City, stop 2. You learned the method on how to make that information work for you at stop 3. And now you're at Practice Mountain. Here you can stay for a while. It's important you stay for a while because practice makes perfect. Here is where you're going to flex all of those muscles. You're going to flex every single methodology muscle you have and practice, practice, practice until you change. That doesn't mean that you can't learn anything else. It just means that until you change your own habitual behaviour through practicing the methodology, because that's how you change your habitual behaviour, you have to practice, practice, practice until you become a different person. And you have to become a different person to attract a different life, because the person you are is attracted to the life you've got. So you have to become a different person to attract a different life. You have to move on to Practice Mountain, and you have to stay in Practice Mountain, because at Practice Mountain you've got to learn to climb. At Practice Mountain you start with the baby steps and the lower slopes. It's like a ski school. You start on the lower slopes, but then you have to learn to climb. You absolutely have to learn to climb. You have to learn to go on the bigger, higher slopes at some point. So you have to climb those and then ski down and climb again and ski down and climb again and ski down and then climb higher and ski down. It's that. That's Practice Mountain. So you can spend some time in Practice Mountain, but don't waste your time. Use your time wisely. It's important that you learn to use your time wisely in Practice Mountain, because Practice Mountain is where the magic starts to happen. That's where the excitement that you had in Datalandia turns into reality. It's no longer just data. It starts to turn into your reality. Practice Mountain is where miracles start to happen. Real change starts to happen. And so when you've spent enough time in Practice Mountain, because you know what you're doing and you're seeing the fruits of your labour, you are seeing the changes. They are presented to you every day in your life experience. You're now starting to experience the life that you really, really wanted. You're starting to really see evidence of what you've learned and the methods you've employed and the practice that you've put in. You're starting to see evidence of it working. It's not until you get to that point that your skepticism disappears. When you get to that point, your skepticism goes, because now you've got proof of concept. Now you know that it works because you're making it work for you. So you absolutely know it works. And when you reach that, I know it works because I've made it work for me, you've turned the corner. You've turned the corner and you can now get back on the train and go to the final destination. And the final destination is flow keep. And what happens there is that you manage to stay in flow. Those people that get off the train in flow keep, they're in flow and they keep their flow. They manage to stay in it. All because they have changed their personality at the last stop in Practice Mountain. They spent such a long time in Practice Mountain that now they're just in flow people. So they belong in flow keep. They're going to live in flow keep. They've decided to move there. They've decided to move to flow keep. So they're going to up sticks and they're going to live in flow keep because it's such a beautiful place. And flow keep has so much to offer. Everything you could possibly want, it's there. It has so much to offer. Everything you want, everything, you name it, it's there. Everything you want is in flow keep. You can experience whatever you want there. And do you know what? There's an express train to Data City. So you could even go on day trips to Data City and then come back. And because you're in flow, you don't really need to go to Method Plaza and Practice Mountain anymore, because you're in flow. So really all you're doing is you become much better at embodying the information you learn. So once you live at Flow Keep and your life has changed beyond recognition, you could take day trips to Data City whenever you want, and you can learn something new. And now, because you're in flow, you automatically embody it. Excuse me, you automatically embody it. You don't need to go through Method Plaza and Practice Mountain. You don't need to. You automatically embody it because now you're in flow. You get it. Like, you've got it. You turned the corner. You turned the corner. This is where life starts to accelerate. This is where everything you want is so much easier to materialize. This is where things really start happening for you. So whatever you do on your spiritual journey, do not get stuck in Data City. You can't live there. If you live there, you're stuck. You can't live in Data City. You want to live in Flow Keep, because Flow Keep is the best place to live and it has everything to offer and everybody's happy. It's the happiest place to live, the most alive place to live, the most vibrant place to live, the most beautiful place to live. Everything is in abundance in Flow Keep. That's where you want to live. So whatever you do, don't get stuck in Data City. Don't become a data addict. Don't become a spiritual addict. Move through the stages. Keep getting back on the train, move to the next station, learn what you need to learn, get back on the train until you reach your final destination. So there are 5 stages to becoming a super manifester, highly connected, in flow being. Stage number 1 is curiosity. That's your first stop on the train, curiosity. Stage number 2 is information and data, Infolandia. Remember, don't get stuck there. Stage number 3 is Method Plaza, where you learn all the different methodologies and choose which ones you're going to employ, which ones resonate with you the most. That's stage 3. Stop number 4, stage 4 is Practice Mountain. You've got to spend some time there. You've got to become a really, really good skier. Practice climbing and skiing. That's what you're going to do. You're going to become an expert climber and skier on Practice Mountain. That's your whole job there. And once you've become a pro, you can then move to Flow Keep. That's your final destination. And when you get to Flow Keep, set up house. Set up house, because you won't want to leave. You absolutely won't want to leave. So they're the 5 stages that you go through on your spiritual journey to get to the point where you have exactly what you want. You have the life you want. You're living in a life of full abundance. And I mean full abundance, because abundance isn't about stuff. Abundance is abundant of heart, abundance of happiness, an abundance of joy, an abundance of resilience. And no matter what goes on in the world, you don't really care, because you're happy and you love it. And it's all an experience, and you live life with awe and wonder. And there's nothing else that you need. Everything you want, you get because you know how to get it. And there's nothing else that you need. That is where you want to get to. So don't waste time outstaying your welcome at any of those stops. Go for it. Really go for it. I'll see you in Flow Keep.